got a brief presentation this morning. But first of all, I just want to say thank you all for coming out. My name is Chris Thurman. I, of course, work here at the Preserve. And this is a wonderful exhibit, obviously. And I just wanted to say thank you all for the beautiful works that you created and have on display here at the Welcome Center and at the Visitor Center. As a lot of you know, artists have played a key role in the formation of our national parks. Starting way back in the mid-1800s, people back east, the population had no idea what lay beyond west of the Mississippi. They had explorers go out, take artists with them, and capture the scenery that was out there. The stuff people like Albert Bierstadt, Thomas Moran brought back were amazed that such things existed. The population, the visitors, the citizens of Virginia, all up and down the East Coast, loved what they saw. And they loved it so much, they were compelled to protect it. And that was the impetus of places such as Yellowstone National Park being set aside permanently to prevent loggers, cattle ranchers, developers from destroying those beautiful places. And artists such as yourselves are in many ways carrying on that tradition. Through the works that you all see here, people who may never come to Big Cypress are able to see the beauty that exists here. They are compelled to continue to care for and are moved to protect it. And so, thank you all for the beautiful works that you all create. What I'd like to do now is hand it over to Deborah Mitchell, who will show a brief presentation of a lot of the works that you all have created. So I think I've gone ahead and got set up.
Great, thank you.
So thank you all for coming out.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming to Big Cypress on this beautiful day.
Good morning.
I would like to turn the tables on some of our rangers in attendance today and request something of you. Close your eyes. Everyone. All around you, plants drip like rain. They reach for you. You feel your legs giving away. You cannot tell where one plant ends and another begins. You know if you go deeper, bromeliads will sprout from arms and the rain will slowly dissolve any memory of what it means to be human. Open. So I hope that took you down on a little short swamp walk today. That's an excerpt from one of the poems displayed in this exhibit from, I guess, Berkeley and the Grainer in Arizona. So a wonderful husband and wife, or boyfriend and girlfriend team, take part of our residency. So that's just one of the really great little tricks I learned hiking with Isabel. And I love it, no matter where I am, to stop and reset, so to speak. So one thing I do want to make sure I say for any of you that aren't part of Big Cypress is we wouldn't be here without the many departments that allow the artist in residency program to function so well. So when you think of everything from, well, law enforcement and hydrology and the Panther team, people who deal with the landowners, it goes on and on. And the people at Big Cypress do this every day to make sure we have such a wonderful place. Also the Seminoles sharing their land with us. So when you see the works in the exhibit, just remember that it takes a great team to give us the privilege, the honor to be here. And that's very much what it was for me during that time. Clyde and Nikki Butcher are traveling in California, but they sent their blessings to us today. And as some of you know from our brochure, Clyde says of the exhibit, over time I have come to see that the essence of art rests not so much in the medium we use as in the attention we give to it. That moment is an event. Something happens, an intention offers itself up to the world, and the world connects with the emotion of artistic expression. A bond is created between the art and the observer that creates a spiritual awakening. As Big Cypress National Preserve opens its doors to artists to give them the opportunity of expression, you're connecting with the community in a spiritual way. It can only be achieved through the arts, opening eyes, ears, and mind to the nature we're so fortunate to have around us. I thought that really summed up how a lot of us feel, and I thought it was very kind and generous of him to offer his thoughts to our effort. So, without further ado, Chris, can we click through some of the pieces that are at Oasis? So if any of you haven't had the time to go over there yet, you'll have an idea of what is there, and that will bring the exhibition almost all to this room for this moment. So let's see if we have some kind of order. Before we go on, actually, not everybody is at both locations. We have Burke and McGrain, the poets that I just mentioned. And I did want to let you know that they were very impressed when they were here with both the water and fire aspects of the ecology in Big Cypress, and that played a big role in their work when they were here. So this, I didn't want to start with mine, but there it is. It's a part of a series called Rural Dwellings, which Dave and Arlene were just discussing before you all came in. I was able to have some access to the backcountry during my time in 2007 and after when we were there. And actually became fascinated with many aspects of it, but especially the old cabins and houses back there. Because every time we'd come upon one, I just couldn't believe that people spend time out there. What do they do? Who are they? And I seem to be fascinated with that. And the series has gone on beyond these little boxes that have the story from my journal typed in the back of the box, some dried leaves, and then a transparency of the cabin between plexiglass and boxes. And Laurel, is this yours? Yes. Laurel's second comes from Ohio. She's here with us today. She spends quite a bit of time in winter in Palm Harbor, so we were very lucky to have her. Unfortunately, you can't see her pieces at this location, but this beautiful little gem is quite representative of the work she did. So, Laurel, is there something you would like to share with us in terms of why you thought Big Cypress was an interesting choice for your residency?
Well, I've always been fascinated with the Florida landscape, and particularly the Everglades. As you can see from that, I've always loved the palm hammocks that you see in the distance. You kind of get layers and layers. Being from Northwest Ohio, part of the flatness is very similar to what you get in Ohio in a way, and I have a series of farm landscapes that I've done up there that kind of show aerial perspective, which we get with the palms down here. But I like the cypress tree so much of it's very fascinating, and it feels like it's just been here forever. And you just, I think more so than most of the national parks, it feels just kind of primeval almost when you go back into some of the areas through here. It's always fascinated me.
Laurel works in several different sizes, although we have some smaller gems that she created for her donation. She also has a bunch of other works, and one of which is in the governor's collection.
No, that was an exhibition that I did there.
Please feel free to ask any questions as we move along. Wonderful blue scavenger from Myrna Massey hangs over at Oasis, and here you can see the counterpart that she created new for the show. Fall fragments. So she loves her mixed media, found objects. What I thought is very interesting about Myrna is she was an artist in residence up in Zion and Grand Teton National Parks as well. Very fascinated with all birds but crows. Yes, Bob?
She was our first artist.
The first one. So yes, she writes that she was very happy to work with you all, and I think Clyde and Nikki were quite active in getting the program going at that time too. And she's just been really a treasure to collaborate with via email. So I was very pleased that she sent these fresh works for us. Thank you, Myrna. Oh, Anne is here. Anne, would you read your poem for us?
I will, but I'm going to have to come up a little closer.
Please welcome Anne McCrary Sullivan. She has three poems in the show. And I thought it would be wonderful to hear her words with her own voice.
I didn't know I was going to do this, so
stand in an easy breeze. Happiness waves in my body, which knows this sort of landscape, knew it before I did, before there was an I. Recognizes openness, quiet and wind, tall grasses, a wide expanse, one channel of clear water flowing. Knows that here big yellow cats leave their footprints, snakes pursue warm blood. Once I lived on a single continent, and here was there. I felt this kind of happy and this kind of fear.
And I often quote your poetry on my swamp walks, but we're still here to listen. I think that's one of the things that makes this gathering of works so unique is the diversity to offer the written word as well. And Anne, would you like to tell everybody what you do down in Everglades as well, or how frequently you write, or just something about your process?
Oh my, you don't want to get me started. I will say that I had never, although I have been in Florida for 21 years, I had never been to the Everglades like many Floridians until 2003, when I went to do an artist residency in Everglades National Park. It awakened me, it changed my life, it gave me new content for my work and a new methodology. And for a while, I hate to confess this, Big Cypress was the place I drove through to get to the Everglades. What the residency here gave me was that it stopped me here, so that I awakened to what was here. And it is astounding. I was here in the summer when the chorus of frogs was indescribable, miraculous, and the steam. I even learned to love the steam. So now I am in love with this entire South Florida landscape. And I think anyone who stays here long, beware, it will happen to you too.
Thank you. Oh, I don't think Jackie is here yet. Jackie Roach has done, this is Jackie's work, correct? The blue one, you know, yes. She has done a lot of work for Carnival Cruise Lines. She's actually a colleague of mine. Our studios are a stone's throw away, and we share boys. She has 4, I have 1. So we always have stories to share with each other about our latest hikes or cycles or kayaks adventure with the kids. Not feeling well today, although she's coming out. She said that she'd be late, so she slips in my little talk. Let's let her explain her pieces. I believe this one's called Oasis Landing. So you get an idea of her love of color. She's quite strong with especially contrasting hues she's known for. Also, she had a Coconut Grove poster a couple of years ago, which is quite a coveted position in Miami if you come from that side of the state. You'll enjoy another view over here, and there are 2 pieces in Oasis as well. So this and another one is perhaps on the shelf. Is Pat here? Pat Cummins. Well, this piece you see right over here, she's our most recent artist in residence. We had Sean Winkler here today, but Pat just finished her residency. She offers us this piece called Crinum Americanum, excuse my lack of pronunciation in Latin, and another piece in the auditorium. They are oils. She works also in very large scale, actually. And of course, it was a bit tricky getting pieces from the newer artist in residence because it takes time, I think, to assimilate your feelings and thoughts and experiences when you're doing a residency. So I do expect some wonderful things from her. She's a highly decorated artist, has won several awards and multiple grants. So we're really thrilled to add her to our team. Thank you. And again, oh, Island Hoey, one of our earlier artists. You see a piece right over here. It is the same. I'm not sure if this is Turner River charcoal or not. I believe that is the piece that hangs in Oasis near the doors. I find Island's work very soothing, even when the subject matter is harsh or strong. I love her shading. I think she's very, very, very gifted. And if you have a chance to see every piece over at Oasis, you'll realize, I believe, that it adds a very, very unique quality to the collection. So, and I do believe, is it true that Eileen just gave birth, correct? So she has a very good reason for not being with us today. And also she lives in Vermont. So. Molly's triptych is so wonderful. Although it's in front of you and I have it on the CD, I thought it would be interesting to add. I mean, the work is, this donation is really fabulous. It's, scale obviously offers the viewer something different than very tiny pieces do. And I just noticed for the short time the show has been up, if I'm in this room and children walk in, the first thing they do is go right to this piece and start to really scour and see what they can see. Molly can't be with us today. She resides in Central Florida and teaches up there, correct, Isabel? Deidre. Everybody welcome Deidre Ludwig. She does these amazing pieces. We're so happy to have her triptych over at Oasis, I believe, Echoes of a Lifetime. She's right there. Come on up, stand up, please. Deidre hails from Louisiana. And over at Oasis, we have a triptych, I call it a triptych anyway, called Natural Mystic Echoes of a Lifetime and Ebb of Nature. So if you have a chance to go to that location, I think you'll be very impressed with the way the three pieces flow so well. Welcome, and I wanted to ask you something. Okay. I probably speak for many people when they look at your work and fall in love with it, but they might wonder what it is you see when you are in a location with other people and they see a swamp, a prairie, and you see that. How can you verbalize that for us? How can you explain your process?
When I first came down to the Everglades is when I was a child, and would come with my family, and we would drive on the Tamiami Trail. And I remember the first time I was here, it was very foggy, and you could barely see through the light. It just seemed like certain parts of it were sort of filtered in and out. And as I kept coming here as an adult, I started focusing on how fragile everything is here in the ecosystem. So my representation of a piece that looks just like these fragments is really about how delicate this entire ecosystem is, and how each piece of it is just very, very delicate. And there's so much atmosphere here, and I love getting out when I'm here different times of the day, and the light's constantly changing. But to me, I really feel the atmosphere of this ecosystem, and that's what I really want to portray in my work.
How would you say the experience of having the residency in Big Cypress influenced how you work?
It just gave me time and permission to do anything I wanted, and I had very few distractions. And it was just really time. I had time to explore. And the help of the Park Service that explained so much to me to really define, what I was seeing. And it's just an incredible place. I love it here so much.
Thank you. Also, we don't have a tag on it yet, but Deidre brought you a fresh piece for us to enjoy the duration of the exhibition here. 18 by 18, is it oil, Deidre?
It's oil, wax, resin, chalk, round botanical specimens.
Beautiful. Thank you.
What's that?
The title?
I don't know the title.
We'll go for untitled. Thank you. I think it might have been all three, and that's the larger piece of what I was calling. Do you mind if I call it a triptych, Deidre? Is that correct?
That's fine.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Echoes of a Lifetime. And oh, Mark Goodenough's Tree Frog. Again, we're so lucky to enjoy it in this room, but I wanted to have it on the slide. If you look right here by the doors, you'll see this wonderful bronze by Mark Goodenough, also in Vermont. And I love the delicacy that he portrayed with these parts of the, I guess, the branch that the frog is on. It's lovely, lovely work. Mark also works very, very large scale. You'll see some strange things on his websites, even spanning over the tops of roadside restaurants, armadillos and things like that. So he's a man of many talents, and we're very, very lucky to have him in this group as well. So Hannah, welcome Hannah. Innocent, is that the Einstein.
Yes.
This is one of Hannah's older pieces that she donated to the preserve. And we're so lucky to have a fresh piece. I was very taken with her use of color. I had better before today. So Hannah, would you like to stand up just for 1 second? And I wanted to ask you. Hannah comes from up north in Winters in the Naples area, and she spends a lot of time painting down here when she's in town.
I've had for about 10 years. I got introduced to the Everglades because we decided to come here in Everglades City to be here in the winter, and I got very involved in the museum there, and still am. And the introduction to the Everglades through the museum system, which of course gives you a lot of depth, right away was great. And I picked up a Marjorie Stoneman Douglas River of Grass book, which I don't know how many of you are familiar with. But it was just absolutely stunning, and I think the poetry of her text is so profound. It's not just the history and the information that you get from her, but the words just, I could just see pictures from her words. So I set about making a series of paintings based on her text, and I realized when I walked in today, I said to Bob, I'm really sorry, I didn't give you the text that goes with that. I completely forgot. So it may be late, but I'm going to get it to you. I could get it to you very quickly. And I cannot remember exactly what the text was for that one, but that whole series I did got started because I was down here. That one was outside my door at the dormitory. I did stay here early one morning. It was I just sat down and did it really quick. It's difficult to see in that slide, but I did one at the beginning of the day and one at the end of the day that we've got, I think, over here. Don't you have it in the office?
Now, I was wondering, when you have the time to explore different locations, and obviously you have a wonderful talent with color, what makes you decide on the exact location you're going to paint that day? How does that come about?
Well, it's interesting because when I read the book, I saw the image. Having been in the Everglades for a while, I saw the image quite clearly from her words, and then had to go out and look for a place that would reflect the words. I kind of worked backwards for that series. But I find when you're in the Everglades, things just reach out and grab you. I mean, I don't find any lack of material. We were up Turner River Road one day, and if you go really slow on that road, you get to places where you start looking in under, and there were water lilies blooming in this dark cave in a roadside ditch, and I mean, you could easily have missed it. And I did a painting from that. It's kind of whatever.
Wise words.
Slow
down.
end. Love it. There's no end. You know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And this is Robert's Lake Strand, is it? Or is it Two Cypress Trees, perhaps? This is the donation that we originally took. Molly Doctorow, again, this triptych here, has a new piece that she sent down for this show in the Oasis Auditorium. It's called Robert's Lake Strand. This is a photograph we can take of one of the donated pieces, which hangs in headquarters at the moment. So, a little chance to see something that they have. So, this is my newest exploration on the cabin series. We opened up showing those boxes where I was sharing with you what was in my journal behind the plexiglass. And in the last few months I've returned to painting again. I don't know how long it will last, but I'm really, really enjoying it. And so I've experimented on wood once again. My original roots were on wood with acrylic and layered newspaper clippings and oil stains and rubs on the top. So they're very small, but again, there are just some words from the newspaper in there that aren't really legible here. This one says sunlight spills, it felt real, yet upon closer look, a world of magical realism. And a nod to Dave and Arlene, who were here earlier. I had the pleasure of being backcountry with them one day, and we were photographing these wonderful cabins, and it's just stuck with me, the fascination of all these people that actually get to spend time out there. I found them very mysterious, and still do, and still wish that I had a cabin in backcountry. Oh, fire pines. We are so thrilled to have this piece now for the collection in Big Cypress. Karen Glazier just donated this new piece to the preserve, and as you can see, it makes quite an impact on viewers. If you, again, go to Oasis and look up close, the view of this, I guess, prescribed burn, Isabel, that she attended, is just so unique. Very few people get to actually see these, and Karen, being such an amazing photographer, had the chance to take this and share it with you. Very talented woman. Her other pieces here are floating hearts. She does underwater photography just in a spectacular fashion. And she also has Hidden Gator, which may be next on the show, Chris. She experiments with all sorts of filters. This is not Karen's. This is, again, Jackie's work. It's not in the show, but I thought it was a strong representation in my talks with Jackie about the influence that a residency can have on your technique. In her case, you can see a colorful landscape with wonderful technique here hanging on the wall. But when you think about the other things, the other people, fish, flora, fauna that she does pastels with in these richly layered colors, it's very interesting to understand the influence that having the time to be out here in nature can have on one. In Jackie's case, I loved the movement of this piece. So it's not just about what we're doing here for the preserve, explaining what is here, but what we carry on as artists into other parts of our work. It's so rich and important, and a great gift from these residencies to us. Hidden Gator. Here it is, Karen Glazer's Hidden Gator. I'm not sure if she used a polarized filter on this, but I love the reflection of the clouds in the water. It's very unusual. If I'm not mistaken, did she take this at Oasis, Isabel? I can't remember. So we're very lucky. That's in the permanent collection here in Big Cypress. So
Does everybody see the Hidden Gator?
no.
How did she take that? Was she in the water with it? She must have.
I believe she would have been on the boardwalk looking down. And come on back. We'd love to hear from you. Okay. This, by the way, is right beside the Hidden Gator piece in the auditorium at Oasis, so you get the gator feel as you're walking along. And I love what Anne said about her experience. So
I'm getting braver, going out further, deeper, alone, reminding myself of the alligator's well-developed sense of hearing, repeating to myself what I say to others. A gator in its natural state does not see a human as prey. My inclination when I'm in the wild is to move quietly, not wanting to disturb. But in the alligator's medium, I slosh hard, balk my stick on limestone, give fair warning. Human coming, something big, withdraw, withdraw. And of course he does, and would even without my exaggerations. So finely attuned he is to motion. He knows I'm here. But my own reptilian brain is at work, body alert beyond the frontal cortex reason. As I follow this trail made by an ancient, know that somewhere near me beats his four-chambered heart.
Yeah, you put it so eloquently. I think I felt like that a million times, and still do, especially by myself. Thank you very, very much. Jackie's piece we already discussed over there on the wall near Hannah. Oh, Pat. Pat came in. Everybody please give a welcome to Pat Cummins. Pat, I spoke a little bit about your work when we showed a view of this, and obviously Puerto de Oasis. So Kat does everything. She teaches in Miami. She has a studio. She's done 7 residencies. Is that right?
I think we're up to 8 now.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And it started here in South Florida. Gary Bryman from Biscayne National Park, a wonderful, wonderful ranger, developed a community program, a community gallery at Biscayne. They don't have a residency, but my studio was 7 miles from Biscayne National Park. So he came to my studio and he asked for me to paint a series of plants. And this is was the beginning, and the paintings that are in this exhibition are from that exhibition. The plant system is similar, and so it's kind of like a full circle. It was beginning, these paintings are from, I think, 8 years ago, but it's the swamp lilies, the string lilies, and the air plants that really touched me. And I took a year off from work. I teach in Dade County Public Schools. And I took a whole year and rediscovered my love for painting, and I haven't stopped since. And Gary was kind of pushing me, and Michelle, and they're saying, do some residencies, go out there and do your applications, and now it's taking me all over the world, and I'm very, very pleased.
Well, as I was saying before you arrived, you're one of our newer artists here, and since your experience was so fresh, you really just ended at New Year's, I believe.
I was here 10 days.
Right. Do you feel that you need to come? Do you feel there are gaps in your understanding of the preserve that you need to come back, or do you just need to work and get it out of your system?
It's never ending. I'll be back here a lot. And I have a 10-foot painting that I just started, skeleton frame, and did some studies, and we'll be working on it, I'm sure, for a year. It kind of transitioned. You're talking about how the residencies help you evolve and change, and I was working mostly in plein air and was given an opportunity this summer with a beachside studio to do some work within the studio, so that intrigued me, and I was away from that, and I'm trying to combine both. And so it's a new process for me. So I actually started the painting, went on swamp walks, went on a canoe trip, and came back and painted, and then went and did small studies, and came back and painted some more on the painting. So I have started this large piece, and I have been working on it and will be working on it. But I was here such a short time, and I'll be here probably whenever I can.
I know a few people are wondering, though, with all the residencies you've done, and as I mentioned, she's won numerous grants for her work and teaches. So if you had to say there was some sort of legacy or idea or gift that you would like to leave people, what would it be? I mean, you've been very prolific, and you've moved around a lot. What is it that seems important that you want people to understand from your work?
I think it's great to do all this work, but I think most important is to share it and to have exhibitions like this. And my involvement with the park system, this is the first group exhibition that I'm very proud that it's here in my home state. And my work is in permanent collections all over the country, but I've never been part of an exhibition like this. So I think this is what's important, to educate the public, and in my classroom I bring the parks to the children and show them where I've worked, and I think that's the most important, to bring the public to the parks.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I think is that the last one, Chris? Are we almost there? Tom! How can I forget Tom?
How could you forget?
Save the best for last.
Yeah.
Please give a warm welcome to Tom Winkle, who is our newest artist in residence. Hailing from Miami, charcoals would be your love, right?
Well, pastels, but they're related, yes.
What would you like to, I thought the pieces, first of all, Tom has certainly been working in our neck of the woods for a while, so it was actually quite easy to choose from his archives, since he hasn't yet completed work based on his time here. What we have here in this auditorium is Is this card sound aftermath?
Actually, it is, yes.
Yes,
That's
very
right,
title.
that's right. Yeah.
So for those of you who've spent some time in Miami, I think you understand Card Sound Road and Aftermath being Andrew, or?
Yes, well, after Andrew, the last one we had,
Yeah.
I can't remember the names, I'm getting confused on the names. now,
And
but-
I hope that confusion is a distant memory
Yes.
and that keeps the storms
Yes.
away from us. But I'm crazy about this piece, and I think it works so beautifully with the other works. Hi, Jackie, on this wall. So, Tom, would you like to say a few words about your work?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Ann said it beautifully, and as well as someone else talking about her watercolors, that really the way I work is I like to look at nature and let it grab me. And I try not to compose things in my mind. So that piece, Card Sound, I was hunting around down in Key Largo and on a side road, and I saw it, and it just made me step on the brakes. Hopped out of the car, and I work in the studio mostly due to my schedule, so I took some snapshots. And the other thing that happens with me in art is I usually have to sit with it. I don't come back to the studio and say, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Often I can take a picture, and months later I'll look at it again, and I finally know what it is that was speaking to me, why I was grabbed. And so I think it's very interesting. Jackie and I know each other, but Jackie works with pastel also. And you know, it's interesting how different artists work differently in different mediums. In the same medium, actually, very different kinds of feelings. And that's the thing about art, it's very personal, so I'm pleased to be a part of this and very excited to start the residency. Very, very excited. Chance, I think one of the things that strikes me about Big Cypress is the diversity. And you have the cypress stones, the grasslands, and that's kind of what I saw with this piece on the wall, but also the piece on the screen. It's amazing, the space out here in the Everglades, and also just the different types of things you see and hear. So I'm pleased.
Perhaps, Chris, the next slide will be the moment shot I referred to. And Chris, Tom, I have a really good question for you.
Yeah.
I love this work. And right away when I saw it, I just thought it was such a great fit. How do you know when a piece is finished?
Very good question. I should get paid to answer this. But,
I'm out of budget.
you know, it's. I think for any artist, whether you've been doing it for years or just starting, it is the most difficult thing in art to know when to stop. Pastels, and then Jackie will probably say this too. Pastels, it's hard to really undo what you do. You kind of have to creep up to where you think you're done, and I tend to walk away. I let it sit. Might be a day or two, I come back, and usually if I wait, pause in between, I will see whether and feel whether it's done. It is the hardest thing to do for an artist. I mean, one little stroke and you go, I've ruined it, you know, I've gone too far. But it's fun to try to creep up, very difficult to know.
Well, Jackie, will you come up here, please? I'd like to introduce
I like
Jackie.
the fact that- No, come on up, my friend from the bakehouse.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry I'm late because I can see that it's been a great conversation, and I wish I could have heard the other artists as well. But what Tom just said, I call that breathing. I tend to, I'm very focused and very on it and going at it, and then I put it up on the wall and I just walk away from it. And I call that my breathing time. And then I do exactly what Tom just said. I'll come into the studio, you know, sometimes a couple of days, sometimes it's not till a week later, and then I see something, or I don't, and then I'll know that I'm finished. Just to add to what Tom said. But you're doing such a good job asking questions, I'm afraid she's going to ask me all
Those of you who know Jackie know she's very busy with mom with 4 boys, and she manages, probably for her own sanity, to come out and commune with nature. And I'm always wondering, like I asked Hannah, how do you actually choose, how do you know the location? How do you know, although there's gorgeous scenes all around us all the time out here, that's the one that you're going to do? The same with Oasis Landing. It's just a little gem over there. How do you know?
Well, I don't really think I do. I've been coming out, I don't know if they still do this, Isabel, but my first experience out here was, it was Big Cypress, but back then we still called it the Everglades. I was in 5th grade. You know, when you live in Miami, everybody in 5th grade used to come out to the Everglades. And then I never really came back until I was like in my early 20s. So starting back then, I actually, like Pat, I went out to the Grand Canyon. And so it took the Grand Canyon to make me realize that we had a national park in our own, and preserve right in our own backyard, which I think happens so often. And back to your question though, I've been taking photos of out here, you know, ever since, I guess, like I said, in my early 20s, so I have a huge collection. But what happened with the residency is that it allowed me to do some of the stuff that I felt intimidated doing or was not sure where I could go. Because as you know, it's not like a typical national park. You have to like drive, and then you really have to get out and do something. There's not much if you're just staying on the road. Well, there's tons to see if you're on the road, but so I have a huge collection of photos. But I felt, ever since I was here, I guess in the last, when was I here, Jenna? You know this information.
Last week?
No, I meant like with my residency. Because I keep coming back, but I think the official residency was in 2008?
I think so, because I was 2007.
I think it's 2008. And so the works that I have here and the one at Oasis are strictly from that experience there. Only because I kind of felt like it really did take me off of my regular beaten path. And this was a particular, one of the things I got to do was like, you know, go up in a helicopter, see the fire area, I learned all this technology about, well, terminology I should say, about a burn. And so I got to see what it looked like when it was first, you know, black and, you know, ugly and just dead. And this is actually right outside of Oasis. And I went back on the trail on one of the recent visits just in the last year or so, just to walk a little bit. And it was like amazing. It was like all this gorgeous neon green. And unless you know, have seen it, it would be hard to believe that's really what it looks like. And so part of being an artist in residence, what I take from it, probably like Pat and soon Tom, is I have a certain amount of ownership to it. And so like when I'm in my booth at Coconut Grove or here or there, and people are like, oh my God, look at that green, or I'm like, no, it's really that green. You know, you feel like you can tell people this is what's out there, you know, right behind where we live. And I think that for me has been like the biggest thing. I feel like, and I said this before, I've become like, I feel like the little ambassador to the area, you know. And so I guess recently it's been trying to find a little bit more specific to here than what I experienced when I was here. So, did I answer the question?
Thank you. Well, I think that wraps it up, everybody. Thank you so much for your attention and patience. It's been easy and a wonderful experience to gather the artwork with our mother, Isabel Kalamarski. All of you know her. She's helped all the residents when they're here find out what they should be doing, and whether it's someone like Karen Glazier who needs to get underwater with the gators, or someone like Jackie who gets a thrill out of a helicopter, or me who wants to be in ATVs in the backcountry, she has arranged it for us. And so sometimes people wonder, oh, well, why don't we have more artists in residence? It takes a lot to get the program going. You might not think of it as money, but it's time away from a few very key people who run things here. So it's been really, really wonderful to organize. It's up through March 3rd. And thank you for coming.
Thank you.